Before the maps were drawn, before the names were given, there was the land and the cold. A cold that is not just a temperature, but a presence, a physical weight on the world. It seeps into the frozen soil, locks the great winding river in a sheath of blue-white ice, and dusts every needle of the silent boreal forest with a crystalline powder. The silence here is absolute, a pressure on the eardrums, broken only by the faint crackle of a branch surrendering to its burden of snow. Sound dies the moment it is born, swallowed by the immense cushion that blankets everything from the wind-scoured plains to the highest, ice-shrouded peaks. In this vast emptiness, the world seems held in a single, frozen breath. It is a landscape that feels ancient, primordial, and utterly indifferent to the warmth of life. The stories we often tell ourselves of this time begin with a fragile people, shivering in the dawn of a new world, perpetually on the brink. A convenient narrative of bare survival, of small bands huddling against an unforgiving wilderness, their existence a fleeting, desperate flicker against an overwhelming darkness. We imagine them as simple, their lives a constant, brutal struggle against the elements, their greatest achievement the mere act of seeing the next sunrise. This is the myth of the primitive, a ghost story told from the comfort of a centrally heated room, a projection of our own fears onto the past. But this picture is a fiction, an illusion born of warmth and distance. The truth is far more astonishing. This continent, defined not by its gentle summers, but by its soul-hardening winters, was never a prison. It was a home. For millennia, across this frozen expanse, hundreds of distinct nations flourished. They built complex societies, vast trade networks that moved goods and ideas across thousands of miles, and philosophies as sophisticated and intricate as the ice crystals forming on the air. This wasn't a story of mere survival. It was a story of mastery, of an ingenuity that turned the deadliest season into a time of opportunity and connection. It was a story built on a profound and intimate knowledge of a world that would kill the unprepared in a single night. The question, then, is not how they managed to exist, but how, in the face of the white silence, did they learn to command it. To command the cold, one must first understand that there is no single winter. There are 1,000 winters, a continent of them, each with its own language, its own teeth. On the Great Plains, winter is a horizontal fury. It is not a gentle falling, but a scouring wind that drives a blinding wall of ice crystals across an unbroken horizon, a blizzard that can bury a herd of bison in a matter of hours. Here, the challenge is not depth, but velocity, an endless assault with nowhere to hide on the vast, frozen sea of grass. Survival is a study in angles and endurance, in reading the subtle language of the wind. Move east into the labyrinth of the great northern woodlands, and the enemy changes. Winter becomes a crushing weight, a profound and muffled silence. Snow falls not in a furious charge, but in a slow, relentless siege, piling feet deep, bending ancient hardwoods to their breaking point and burying the world in a soft, white prison. Here, the cold is an insulator and an obstacle. The solution is not to fight the wind, but to master the crushing gravity of the snow, to move atop its surface, to use its depth as a larder and a shelter. Further west, in the perpetual twilight of the coastal rainforests, winter is a different beast entirely. It is a cold that is wet, a relentless seeping dampness that clings to moss-draped cedar and saturates the very air. It is a season of steel-gray skies and chilling rain that finds its way through any barrier. A cold that leaches warmth from the bone, not with freezing air, but with constant penetrating moisture. In the high desert, winter is a creature of two faces, a day of brilliant, brittle sun that offers the illusion of warmth, followed by a night where the temperature plunges into a killing frost the moment the sun slips below the mesa. The air is crystal clear, the stars like chips of ice, and the cold is a sudden, sharp predator that stalks the long, dark hours. And far to the north, on the roof of the world, winter is simply all there is, a landscape of fractured blue ice under the unending twilight of the polar night. A cold so absolute it feels like the absence of everything. There was never one answer. There were 10,000 years of answers, a brilliant constellation of solutions born of intimacy, each one a testament to the idea that a home can be made anywhere, even in a continent of winters. How to command a continent of winters. The answer lies not in a single invention, but in a philosophy of resilience, a deep understanding built upon three unbreakable pillars. The first pillar is shelter. This is not just a roof against the snow, but the science of capturing and holding life-giving warmth. A stylized cross-section reveals the quiet genius of an igloo, its spiraling blocks of compressed snow acting as perfect insulation. Inside, the physics are elegant and life-sustaining. A raised sleeping platform where warm air pools, a lower entrance acting as a cold trap, a small ventilation hole preventing suffocation. This is architecture as a form of thermodynamics. Elsewhere, the principle takes other forms. The thick, sod-covered roof of an earth lodge, using the ground itself as a blanket against the frost. The long timbered halls where multiple families shared the heat of a central fire, their collective body heat a furnace against the night. Each design was a precise calculation of heat, wind, and snow. The second pillar is sustenance, the art of harvesting the land's bounty and transforming it into a fortress of stored energy. In the smoky warmth of a coastal longhouse, rows of split salmon hang like crimson jewels, their oil-rich flesh a dense reserve of calories preserved for the long, lean months. This is foresight made tangible. Across the continent, this art took 1,000 forms. Bison meat pounded with rendered fat and dried berries to create pemmican, a perfect portable fuel. Caches of game frozen solid in the natural cellar of the permafrost. Baskets of acorns leached of their bitterness and ground into flour. It was a continent-wide larder, a testament to a deep knowledge of preservation, ensuring that the abundance of summer and fall would conquer the scarcity of winter. But the final, most essential pillar was society, the unbreakable strength of the collective. Without it, the cleverest shelter would grow cold, the most well-stocked larder would be meaningless. Within the fire-lit cone of a teepee, the silhouettes of a family are painted against the hide walls. Here, warmth is more than just burning wood. It is the shared stories, the passed-down knowledge, the simple, profound comfort of human presence. The hunt was a communal effort, the harvest was shared, and the burden of the cold was borne by everyone. The lone wolf was a creature of myth. The pack was the engine of survival. This was the ultimate innovation, the understanding that the most powerful technology against the ice was one another. Shelter, sustenance, society, the three pillars of endurance. The perfect building material for the frozen world is not wood or stone, but the ground itself. Wind-packed snow, compressed over a long winter into a slab firm enough to be carved, yet porous enough to insulate. A long bone knife slices into the drift, the cut clean and sharp in the crystalline air. What emerges are not simple bricks, but precise, angled wedges, each one a calculated component in a greater design. They are not stacked in simple rings, but laid in a continuous, inward-leaning spiral, an elegant ascending curve. Each block rests on the one below and leans on the one beside it, distributing the weight perfectly, creating a self-supporting catenary arch, the most stable form in nature. When the final keystone block is trimmed and dropped into the apex, it locks the entire structure into a solid, seamless dome, a silent testament to structural mechanics. But the true genius is invisible from the outside. A stylized cross-section reveals the sophisticated engineering within. The entrance is not a simple door, but a tunnel dug low into the snow. This is the cold trap, a crucial feature that weaponizes physics against the frost. Dense, frigid air, heavier than warm air, pools in the low-slung tunnel, unable to rise and invade the main living chamber. Inside, the living space itself is tiered. A wide, raised platform of packed snow, covered in thick caribou and muskox hides, forms the sleeping and living area. Here, in this elevated space, the warmest air naturally gathers, pooling just below the curve of the ceiling. The walls themselves are the true marvel. They are not solid ice, but a matrix of frozen crystals and millions of tiny, trapped air pockets. This structure makes the snow a near-perfect insulator, preventing the interior warmth from escaping and the exterior cold from penetrating. The furnace is life itself, the collective body heat of a single family combined with the tiny, flickering flame of a seal oil lamp used for light and melting water is all that is needed.
The porous snow walls absorb this gentle heat, and as the inner surface melts ever so slightly, it refreezes into a thin, impermeable layer of ice, sealing the structure and reflecting even more heat back into the living space. Outside, the wind may howl at 40 below zero, but inside the air is still, and the temperature can hover near freezing, a staggering difference of up to 30 degrees Celsius. It is not a primitive hut. It is a machine for living, an architecture of breath and snow. If the igloo is a machine for living, then the clothing worn within and without it is a second, more intimate architecture. It is a personal shelter, a second skin engineered over millennia to create a portable envelope of warmth in the coldest place on Earth. The foundation of this system is the hide of the caribou, harvested in late autumn when its coat is at its thickest and most insulating. From this, two distinct garments are created. The first is an inner parka, the atigi, worn with its dense, soft fur turned inward, directly against the skin. This layer creates a deep cushion of still air, a personal atmosphere that is warmed by the body's own heat. It is an embrace of pure insulation. Over this is worn the outer parka, the kulitak, with its fur facing outward. The long, slick guard hairs of this layer are a formidable barrier against the elements, shedding snow and deflecting the wind's relentless search for warmth. The two layers work in concert, a sophisticated system of trapping and protecting, allowing perspiration to wick away from the skin while keeping the killing cold at bay.
The true genius lies at the microscopic level. A magnified view reveals the secret. Each individual caribou hair is not a solid filament, but a hollow tube, itself filled with a honeycomb of tiny air cells. It is a structure designed by evolution for maximum thermal efficiency, creating an insulating barrier that is lighter and warmer than any modern synthetic material. This is not just fur. It is a matrix of trapped air, a technology grown from the land itself. This same principle of specialized materials extends to the feet. The boots, or kamiks, are masterpieces of waterproof engineering, crafted from the supple, durable hide of the ringed seal. But their true magic is in the stitching. The seams are not sewn with simple thread, but with sinew taken from the back of a caribou. When this sinew gets wet, it doesn't rot or weaken, it swells. This expansion closes the needle holes completely, creating a perfectly watertight seal. It is a living seam, a self-caulking stitch that becomes more effective the wetter it gets. From head to toe, this is not merely clothing. It is a complete integrated life support system, a testament to an understanding of the natural world so profound that the deadliest environment on the planet could be rendered into a home. Out on the great frozen skin of the ocean, there is no sound but the whisper of wind across sastrugi. Here, a man moves not as an intruder but as a feature of the landscape itself. His eyes, honed by a lifetime of reading this white world, scan the endless surface for a sign invisible to any other. It is not a track, nor a disturbance, but a promise. He finds it, a subtle dome of accumulated frost, a crystalline anomaly betraying the warm, moist breath rising from the dark water far below. This is the agloo, the seal's lifeline to the world of air, and the focus of a near impossible patience. The preparation is a silent ritual. With a long, curved probe carved from antler, he confirms the exact location of the hole beneath its blanket of snow. A chisel of bone carefully scrapes away the insulating layers, revealing a perfect, dark circle no wider than a man's fist. The harpoon is placed just so, its line coiled in a way that guarantees it will fly free of any snag. He settles onto a small stool of driftwood, a dark, solitary figure in a universe of white. From a pouch, he pulls the most crucial tool of all, a single, delicate caribou hair, attached to the tip of a slender bone sliver. He plants it carefully in the snow beside the hole, its fine filament hovering directly over the opening. Now, he waits. He becomes a part of the ice, his form as still as the frozen hummocks around him. His breathing is a slow, deliberate rhythm, his own warm breath pluming and freezing in the air. The sun is a smear of pale light in the vast, indifferent sky. An hour passes, then another. The cold is a deep physical presence,
a constant pressure that would drive any other creature to madness or death. But for him, it is simply the condition of the world. His entire being, every fiber of his awareness, is focused on that one fragile indicator. He is listening not with his ears, but with his stillness, waiting for the faintest flutter, the barest tremble of the caribou hair that will signal the arrival of life from the black, silent depths. This is not an act of aggression. It is a conversation in the language of silence, a profound and patient communion at the edge of the world.
For months, the sun is just a memory, a ghost of warmth below a frozen horizon. Outside, the world is a landscape of absolutes: absolute dark, absolute cold, absolute silence broken only by the shriek of the wind scouring the packed snow. But here, inside the gentle curve of the snow dome, a different universe exists. It is a world created and sustained by a single, steady flame. This is the realm of the quolic, the seal oil lamp. Carved from soapstone into a graceful crescent, it is the home sun and its hearth. A wick of Arctic cotton or dried moss rests along its curved edge, drawing up the rendered fat of the seal, the gift of the patient hunter. Its flame is not a brilliant, hungry fire, but a soft, golden luminescence, a living light that breathes with the life of the home. It hisses and sputters softly, a constant, comforting voice against the vast silence. This gentle glow is the center of everything. It pushes the immense, crushing darkness back to the translucent walls of snow, creating an intimate circle of warmth and life. Here, the family gathers on the raised sleeping platform, their bodies wrapped in the soft fur of the caribou, their faces painted in the lamp's flickering light. The curved walls of the igloo, glazed with a thin layer of refrozen ice, become a screen for a theater of shadows. In this gentle light, the elders' hands weave the stories of the ancestors, their words filling the small space with the thunder of caribou migrations and the wisdom of the great bear. Children's fingers, nimble and quick, conjure the shapes of animals and spirits from a single loop of sinew, the intricate patterns of string games appearing and dissolving in the warm air. A mother's needle, a sliver of sharpened bone, moves with quiet purpose, mending a tear in a sealskin boot. A father carves a new harpoon head from a piece of walrus ivory, the tool that will feed the flame and the family. The quolic is more than heat, more than light. It is the gravitational center of the family, the forge of culture, the small, defiant star that holds the long dark at bay. Shifting south from the open ice, the continent's character changes. The horizon closes in, replaced by the deep, muffled silence of the boreal forest. Here, winter is not a horizontal fury, but a vertical weight, a season measured in the crushing depth of snow that buries the landscape and snaps the limbs of ancient spruce. In this world of profound cold, the architecture of survival burrows downward, seeking sanctuary not on the frozen surface, but within the earth itself. This is the logic of the semi-subterranean lodge, the winter home of the Dean and Cree. The construction is an act of communion with the land. A deep, circular pit is excavated from the ground, its floor lying below the frost line in the zone of the Earth's constant latent warmth. Over this earthen bowl, a sturdy conical frame of interlocking logs and poles is raised, its peak left open to the sky. This skeletal structure is then dressed in its life-sustaining skin. First, a thick, insulating blanket of woven spruce boughs and dried moss is laid against the timbers, creating a breathable inner layer. Upon this is piled the excavated earth packed densely to form a solid thermal mass that absorbs and holds warmth. The final and most crucial layer is provided by winter itself. The relentless snowfall is not an enemy to be shoveled away, but a gift to be welcomed. It buries the lodge completely, sometimes dozens of feet deep, creating a perfect final layer of insulation that seals the home against the subarctic winds. From the outside, it is little more than a gentle mound in the snow, a subtle rise in the landscape betrayed only by a faint whisper of wood smoke curling from its peak. But to enter is to descend into another world. A low, narrow passageway slopes downward, acting as a natural cold trap that prevents the frigid air from sinking into the living space. Inside, The atmosphere is warm, still, and filled with the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. The ground itself radiates a gentle, geothermal heat, a constant, low-grade energy drawn from the planet's core. A central fire provides the primary warmth and light, its flames dancing against the log-beamed ceiling. Here, cocooned by earth and snow, the continental winter, raging at 50 below zero just a few feet overhead, is reduced to a distant, powerless murmur. It is a shelter born not of fighting the cold, but of embracing the earth's own enduring warmth. In the great eastern woodlands, another answer to the cold arose, one that looked not down into the earth, but inward, to the power of the collective. This was not a shelter for a single family, but a home for a nation in miniature. The Haudenosaunee Longhouse was an act of architectural ambition, a monumental structure stretching for hundreds of feet, sometimes longer than a modern football field. An arched skeleton of bent saplings, lashed together with sinew and basswood cordage, formed its spine, over which was laid a tight skin of overlapping elm bark shingles. It was a village contained within a single continuous roof, a dark, organic shape rising from the forest clearing, its presence announced by the pale whispers of smoke pluming from vents all along its ridge. To step through the hide-covered door at its end was to enter a different world, a long, cavernous hall filled with the hazy glow of firelight and the constant murmur of human.
Providing consistent warmth and shelter during the coldest months, a critical factor in the enduring resilience of Native American communities. Teepee adaptations, mobility and warmth on the plains. While often associated with the warmer months and verdant plains, the teepee, a marvel of indigenous engineering, proved equally indispensable as a winter dwelling for nomadic plains tribes. Far from a seasonal structure, it was meticulously adapted to withstand the brutal cold, serving as a testament to sophisticated design and communal ingenuity. Crucial to its cold weather efficacy was the dew cloth, or inner lining. This interior hide or canvas, extending from the ground to several feet up the poles, created an essential air gap between the inner and outer layers. Much like modern double-pane windows, this air pocket acted as a powerful insulator, trapping warmth generated inside and preventing cold air from penetrating. The exterior, crafted from heavier, thicker buffalo hides during the winter months, offered superior protection against biting winds and snow, creating a robust, multi-layered barrier against the elements. The very conical shape of the teepee was a stroke of genius for thermal regulation. It naturally directed smoke upward, where it could escape through the adjustable smoke flaps at the apex. These flaps, manipulated by long poles, allowed occupants to precisely control ventilation and draft, ensuring efficient smoke removal while minimizing heat loss. Fire management within the teepee was a finely honed skill. Small, carefully tended fires, often using slow-burning buffalo dung or seasoned wood, provided consistent heat without excessive smoke. The low burning point of these fires, combined with the teepee's design, meant that warmth radiated throughout the living space. Beyond its insulating properties, the teepee's fundamental portability remained paramount, even in the depths of winter. Its ability to be dismantled and re-erected with relative speed was not merely a convenience, but a necessity for plains tribes who relied on following migrating bison herds, their primary food source across snow-covered landscapes. This mobility, combined with its advanced thermal design, made the teepee a surprisingly effective and enduring cold weather shelter. The construction and maintenance of a winter teepee were inherently communal endeavors, reflecting the deep interdependency of plains societies. From tanning the hides to cutting and erecting the poles, and meticulously adjusting the liners and flaps, every stage involved collective effort, ensuring each family had a secure and warm refuge against the unforgiving winter. Crafting warmth. The art of winter attire. Beyond the shelter of their expertly constructed dwellings, a second critical layer of defense against the biting cold was the ingenious clothing crafted by Native American peoples. Far from being mere utilitarian coverings, these garments were often vibrant expressions of cultural identity, adorned with intricate beadwork, quillwork, and symbolic designs. Yet, their primary purpose during the harsh winter months was unequivocally survival. The effectiveness of this indigenous attire lay in a sophisticated understanding of fundamental cold weather principles, meticulously applied through generations of accumulated knowledge. Central among these was insulation. Animal furs, such as those from bison, bear, beaver, and rabbit, were expertly processed to retain their natural loft and trap layers of warm air close to the body. Multiple layers of buckskin, tanned hides, or woven plant fibers further augmented this thermal barrier, creating crucial air pockets that prevented heat loss. Equally vital was protection against wind. Tightly woven hides, often rendered supple through meticulous tanning processes, provided an impenetrable shield against icy gusts, preventing convective heat loss. Overlays of fur or capes could be strategically added for additional windbreaking capabilities. Moisture management, a critical yet often overlooked aspect of cold weather survival, was also incorporated into garment design. While some materials, like certain furs, offered natural water resistance, clothing was also crafted to allow perspiration to escape, preventing the dangerous chilling effect of dampness against the skin. Meticulous design ensured snow and ice did not readily accumulate or melt directly onto the wearer. Finally, durability was paramount. Clothing had to withstand the rigors of daily life, arduous hunting expeditions, and extensive travel in extreme conditions, requiring robust construction and carefully chosen materials that would not easily tear or degrade. This remarkable efficacy was a testament to the profound knowledge Native Americans possessed regarding the properties of local flora and fauna. Every fiber, every hide, every sinew was understood for its unique strengths and weaknesses. Coupled with highly refined textile arts, from intricate tanning and sewing techniques to advanced weaving, they engineered garments perfectly tailored not just to the general winter climate, but to the specific environmental nuances of their region and the demanding activities, whether stationary lodge life or strenuous hunting expeditions. This fusion of artistry and practicality ensured their endurance through the most unforgiving seasons. Materials of survival, hides, furs and fibers. At the heart of Native American winter survival lay an unparalleled understanding and utilization of natural resources, particularly in crafting protective clothing. Central to this ingenious attire were the hides of large game animals: deer, elk, moose, caribou, and bison. These robust skins, once expertly processed, offered exceptional insulation, creating a formidable barrier against the biting cold. The transformation of raw hide into pliable, durable leather was a laborious, multi-stage process. It began with meticulous scraping to remove flesh and hair, followed by tanning, often using brain matter, animal fats, or plant-based solutions, which chemically altered the hide, preventing putrefaction and increasing flexibility. Repeated softening through stretching, chewing, or working over a smoothed log ensured the finished material was supple enough for comfortable wear, yet resilient against the harsh elements. From these meticulously prepared hides came an array of garments: leggings, tunics, moccasins, and robes, each designed to maximize warmth and mobility. Layered over or integrated with hide garments were the luxurious, deeply insulating furs of animals like beaver, rabbit, fox, wolf, and bear. The dense underfur of these animals trapped a vital layer of warm air close to the body, providing unparalleled thermal protection. Rabbit fur, for instance, was often cut into strips and meticulously woven into incredibly soft, warm robes, particularly in regions like the Great Basin, where larger hides were less abundant. In the extreme Arctic environments, where large mammals could be scarce at certain times, ingenuity extended to the use of bird skins. Peoples like the Inuit utilized the dense, waterproof skins of loons and ducks, often with feathers intact, to create remarkably warm and wind-resistant parkas and garments, leveraging nature's own insulation and natural oils. While animal products predominated, certain regions saw the innovative use of plant fibers. On the northwest coast, the inner bark of cedar trees was expertly processed, softened, and woven into intricate textiles, including capes and blankets. These cedar bark garments, while perhaps not offering the same extreme thermal value as thick furs, provided significant warmth, excellent breathability, and water repellency, crucial in their damp coastal environment. Crucially, the acquisition of all these materials was governed by profound principles of sustainability and respect. Hunting and harvesting were not indiscriminate acts, but sacred practices, deeply intertwined with spiritual beliefs and a thorough understanding of ecological balance. Every part of the animal was utilized, minimizing waste, and ensuring the continued health of the natural world, a testament to a harmonious relationship with their environment. Layering and design, maximizing thermal efficiency. The mastery of winter survival among Native American communities was profoundly evident in their meticulously crafted clothing, a sophisticated system designed not merely for covering, but for rigorous thermoregulation. At its core lay the principle of layering, a concept remarkably similar to modern technical apparel. Multiple layers of diverse materials, often animal hides, furs, and sometimes plant fibers, were strategically combined to create air pockets. These trapped air layers acted as highly effective insulators, dramatically slowing heat loss from the body. This multi-layered approach also afforded crucial flexibility, allowing individuals to shed or add garments to regulate their body temperature, preventing both dangerous hypothermia and debilitating overheating during strenuous activities. Consider the construction of garments such as the parka, a quintessential piece, particularly among Arctic and subarctic peoples. These were often double-layered, an inner layer with fur facing inward for maximum warmth, and an outer layer with fur facing outward or made of treated hide like sealskin for protection against wind and moisture. Materials like caribou hide, renowned for its hollow hairs that provided exceptional insulation, beaver, and seal skin, were selected for their specific thermal and weather-resistant properties. Beneath these outer shells, inner shirts and leggings of softer hides or woven materials provided a comfortable, breathable base. For periods of extreme cold or stationary activity, large robes fashioned from bison, bear, or wolf fur offered unparalleled warmth, often worn draped over other layers. The design principles extended to every detail, ensuring minimal heat loss. Parkas frequently featured integrated hoods, often trimmed with wolverine or wolf fur, to create a protective ruff that shielded the face from biting winds, preventing frostbite without obstructing vision. Sleeves were often designed with attached mittens or integrated gauntlets, ensuring the wrists and hands remained covered and warm. Snug closures, drawstrings, ties, or carefully constructed overlaps were employed at the wrists, ankles, and waistlines to seal out drafts, creating an enclosed microclimate around the body. Footwear, such as mukluks in the Arctic, incorporated multiple layers of fur and hide, often with insulating grass or moss inserts. Native artisans demonstrated a profound understanding of both thermoregulation and biomechanics. Garments were cut and sewn with precision, allowing for a full range of movement essential for hunting, trapping, gathering, and daily tasks, without exposing skin to the elements. This balance between freedom of movement and complete coverage was critical. For instance, the tailored fit of leggings and shirts, combined with the strategic cut of parkas, ensured warmth without bulk or restriction. Regional variations further highlight this adaptability. The double-layered caribou parkas, Attic look, of the Inuit, perfectly adapted to extreme Arctic cold, contrasted with the bison robes and buckskin leggings of the plains peoples, designed for colder but less perpetually frigid environments. Even the rabbit fur robes of the Great Basin, or the deer hide and occasional woven plant fiber garments of the Northeast, reflected a deep, intuitive knowledge of available resources and local climatic demands, all aimed at enduring the harshest winters. Footwear and accessories, protecting extremities. The human body's most vulnerable points in extreme cold are often its extremities, hands, feet, and head, where blood flow can be restricted to preserve core temperature, thus increasing the risk of frostbite. Native American communities, with their profound understanding of the natural world, developed ingenious solutions to safeguard these crucial areas. Footwear, for instance, was not merely protective, but a meticulously engineered system of insulation. Moccasins, crafted from tanned hides such as deer, elk, or moose, often featured multiple layers. The outer layer provided durability and a barrier against snow, while inner layers, sometimes lined with rabbit or beaver fur, offered superior warmth. For more extreme Arctic conditions, specialized footwear like mukluks, originating from Inuit traditions, combined sealskin or caribou hide for the uppers with waterproof soles, frequently incorporating fur or grass insoles to create an insulating air pocket and wick away moisture. The design consistently prioritized warmth and dryness, essential for preventing debilitating frostbite and maintaining mobility across vast frozen landscapes. This thermal integrity extended beyond the feet. Leggings, often made from hide or woven wool, served a critical function, not just as leg coverings, but as a vital bridge, sealing the gap between footwear and upper garments. This continuous barrier prevented snow ingress and minimized heat loss, ensuring a comprehensive insulating envelope for the lower body. Equally vital were accessories for the hands, head, and neck. Mittens, preferred over gloves for their ability to keep fingers together and thus warmer, were crafted from thick furs like beaver or wolf, or multiple layers of buckskin, often lined with softer furs or plant fibers. Hats and hoods, fashioned from animal pelts such as fox, lynx, or wolverine, provided unparalleled protection for the head and ears, areas particularly susceptible to rapid heat loss. Many designs incorporated ear flaps or extended down the neck to maximize coverage. Scarves or neck wraps, woven from plant fibers or fashioned from strips of fur, completed this protective ensemble, shielding the neck and face from biting winds and driving snow. The overarching principle in the design and construction of all these items was an unwavering attention to detail, a sophisticated understanding of material properties, and a holistic approach to preventing the insidious drain of body heat from every exposed surface. Regional styles clothing as cultural expression, while the primary function of winter clothing for Native American peoples was undeniably survival against the biting cold. These garments transcended mere utility, serving as profound canvases for cultural expression, identity, and spiritual meaning. Far from being simple coverings, they were intricate narratives woven into existence, testaments to both practical ingenuity and artistic prowess. Across the vast and diverse landscapes of North America, distinct regional styles emerged, each reflecting the unique environment, available resources, and cultural nuances of the inhabitants. In the plains, for instance, buffalo robes and deer or elk hide garments were not only essential for warmth, but were often adorned with exquisite porcupine quill work, intricate beadwork, and painted designs. Quill work, a laborious art form involving softening, flattening, and dyeing porcupine quills before stitching them onto hide, created geometric patterns or pictorial representations of visions, deeds, or calendrical events. Later, the introduction of glass beads enabled even more elaborate designs, with patterns and colors often signifying tribal affiliation, social status, or individual achievements. A warrior's painted robe might depict his battles or spiritual guardians, imbuing the garment with protective power and personal history. Further north, among the indigenous peoples of the subarctic and Arctic, such as the Dene or Inuit, caribou and sealskin parkas and leggings were crafted with unparalleled precision to withstand extreme temperatures. While functionality was paramount, aesthetics were still integral. Contrasting fur trims, precisely cut geometric inlays, and the expert arrangement of materials transformed these essential items into objects of beauty. The very act of meticulously preparing and stitching hides was an art form in itself, reflecting a deep respect for the animal and a spiritual connection to the natural world. In the eastern woodlands, garments crafted from deer hide and furs featured different artistic traditions. Here, intricate floral and curvilinear beadwork, often in vibrant colors, adorned tunics, leggings, and moccasins. Groups like the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee utilized moose hair embroidery and delicate shell beads, creating patterns that mirrored the rich flora and fauna of their forest homes, reflecting a profound spiritual reverence for the land and its abundance. These patterns were not merely decorative, they often carried symbolic meanings, connecting the wearer to creation stories, clan lineages, or spiritual protectors. Beyond their aesthetic appeal, the materials and embellishments on winter clothing communicated vital information. The quality of the hides, the complexity of the beadwork or quill work, and the presence of rare materials could indicate a wearer's wealth, skill, or social standing within the community. Specific motifs and designs served as visual markers of tribal identity, distinguishing one group from another. Moreover, many designs held spiritual significance, acting as prayers, protective talismans, or visual representations of an individual's spiritual journey and connection to the unseen world. Thus, these garments were not merely functional shields against the cold. They were living expressions of identity, social structure, and spiritual belief, demonstrating that even in the harshest environments, the human spirit's capacity for beauty and cultural depth remained undiminished. The lifeblood of winter, mastery of firewile, robust shelters and meticulously crafted clothing formed the primary defense against the unforgiving chill of winter. Another element proved equally, if not more, indispensable: fire. More than just a source of warmth, fire was a nexus of survival, illuminating the long, dark nights and serving as the hearth around which daily life revolved. Its multifaceted utility was unparalleled. It transformed raw sustenance into nourishing meals, dried damp clothing and provisions, and was critical in the crafting and hardening of tools and weapons, essential for hunting and defense in challenging conditions. Yet fire's significance extended far beyond mere utility. For countless Native American nations, fire held profound spiritual and cultural meaning. It was often seen as a living entity, a sacred gift from the Creator, embodying purification, renewal, and connection to ancestral spirits. Council fires were central to communal gatherings, storytelling, and ceremonial rites, symbolizing unity, wisdom, and the enduring spirit of the people. Their flickering flames a silent witness to generations of tradition. To harness this vital force in the face of sub-zero temperatures and scarce resources demanded an extraordinary depth of knowledge and skill, the ability to not only ignite a flame in a snow-covered landscape, but to nurture, sustain, and manage it efficiently throughout long, brutal winters was a testament to generations of accumulated wisdom. This segment will delve into the intricate methods employed by Native Americans to create, maintain, and utilize fire, revealing the sophisticated techniques that made it the unwavering heart of winter survival and underscored the profound ingenuity required to master the elements. Ignition techniques, from friction to flint for indigenous peoples across North America, the mastery of fire was not merely a convenience, but a cornerstone of survival, particularly against the biting cold of winter. The ability to reliably generate warmth, cook food, and dry clothing, often under challenging conditions, demanded profound skill, patience, and an intimate knowledge of the natural world. Central to this was the array of friction-based fire-starting methods. The offhand drill stands as one of the most ancient and widespread techniques. It involved rapidly rotating a spindle, typically a straight stick of medium hard wood like cedar or juniper, between the palms. This spindle was pressed into a small divot on a hearthboard, a flat piece of softer wood such as cottonwood, willow, or aspen. The friction generated by the spinning motion would grind wood dust from the hearthboard, accumulating in a small notch cut into the side. As friction intensified, this dust would char, eventually forming a glowing ember. The success of this method hinged on maintaining consistent downward pressure and rapid rotation, a testament to physical endurance and precise technique. An advancement offering greater efficiency was the habow drill. Here, a flexible bow, strung with a leather thong or rawhide, was used to wrap around the spindle. One hand held a bearing block, often a stone or a piece of hardwood, to apply downward pressure on the top of the spindle, while the other manipulated the bow back and forth. This allowed for sustained high-speed rotation with less physical strain, making it a more reliable method, especially when hands were cold or fatigued. The careful selection of wood for both spindle and hearthboard remained paramount. A harder spindle against a softer hearthboard was generally preferred to maximize dust production and minimize glazing. Another ingenious method, particularly prevalent in some regions like the Pacific Northwest, was the maha fire plow. This involved vigorously rubbing the tip of a plow stick, typically a piece of harder wood, along a groove carved into a softer hearthboard. The friction created would push a pile of fine wood dust ahead of the plow, which, with sustained effort, would eventually ignite into an ember. Each of these friction methods underscored the critical importance of a stable platform, consistent pressure, and the correct pairing of wood densities to achieve the necessary heat. Crucial to transitioning a nascent ember into a viable flame was tinder. Native Americans meticulously collected and prepared a variety of highly combustible materials. Finely shredded cedar bark, dried grasses, cattail fluff, and certain types of fungus like chaga, or punk wood, rotted wood, were all prized for their ability to catch a spark or ember. This tinder was often processed by pounding, shredding, and fluffing until it formed a loose, airy mass, ideal for oxygen flow. Keeping this tinder absolutely dry was paramount, especially in damp or snowy conditions. It was often stored in waterproof containers made from bark or animal bladders, or carried close to the body to prevent moisture absorption. While friction methods were primary, some regions also utilized the striker-light methods. Where geological resources permitted, striking a piece of iron pyrite or marcasite against a sharp-edged flint could generate sparks. These sparks were then carefully directed onto a prepared tinder bundle, typically one containing char cloth or specific types of fungus that readily caught and held a spark. This technique, though requiring specific materials, offered an alternative means of ignition, ultimately generating fire, especially in the harsh realities of a freezing winter, was a profound act of knowledge and perseverance. It required not only an understanding of the mechanics of friction or striking, but also an encyclopedic knowledge of local flora for wood and tinder, the ability to read the environment, and the unwavering patience to coax an ember into life. This skill, passed down through generations, was a non-negotiable aspect of survival, providing not just warmth but light, safety, and the means to sustain life in the most unforgiving landscapes. Fuel management. Sustaining the flame amidst the relentless grip of winter, fire was not merely a comfort. It was the very pulse of survival. The sophisticated practice of fuel management was paramount, a testament to the profound ecological knowledge held by Native American communities. Long before the first frost, extensive preparations were undertaken to secure a constant supply of firewood, a critical resource that dictated warmth, cooking, and the very viability of shelter. Indigenous peoples possessed an intimate, encyclopedic understanding of their arboreal surroundings, discerning which types of wood burned most efficiently, produced the most heat, and created the least smoke. Dense hardwoods like oak, hickory, and maple were highly prized for their slow, sustained burn and intense heat, ideal for keeping dwellings warm through long, frigid nights. Conversely, lighter woods such as cedar or pine, while producing more smoke, were valued for their quick ignition and intense flame, perfect for starting fires or for rapid cooking. Crucially, the moisture content and resinous qualities of wood were meticulously observed. Green wood, laden with sap, burned poorly and created excessive acrid smoke, a dangerous proposition in enclosed spaces. The process of collection was a communal and strategic undertaking. Major expeditions would often commence in late summer or early autumn, focusing primarily on harvesting deadfall, fallen trees and branches that were already naturally dried, thereby minimizing the need to fell live trees and promoting forest health. Even as snow blanketed the land, ingenious methods ensured a continuous supply. Communities would seek out standing dead trees, known as snags, whose wood remained relatively dry even in winter. Lower, dead branches, often protected from heavy snow by the tree's canopy, were also collected. Tools ranging from stone axes to later metal implements were employed to break down and process larger logs into manageable lengths, which were then split to aid in drying and improve burning efficiency. Damp wood, an inevitable challenge in snowy conditions, was carefully managed. Smaller quantities were routinely brought inside dwellings to dry near the hearth, ensuring a ready supply of truly dry fuel. Larger reserves were stacked in meticulously designed outdoor wood piles. These piles were often elevated on rocks or smaller logs to prevent moisture wicking from the ground, and were strategically placed to allow maximum air circulation for drying. They were frequently covered with bark, hides, or woven mats to protect them from snow and rain, ensuring that even in the harshest blizzards, a protected cache of fuel was available. The placement of these communal wood piles was also critical, balancing accessibility during deep snow with sufficient distance from dwellings to mitigate fire risk, while also considering prevailing winds. This vital practice was rarely an individual endeavor. It embodied the collective spirit of the community. Gathering firewood was often a shared responsibility, with family units or designated groups working together to ensure that every household, particularly the elderly or infirm, had an adequate supply. Yet this intense reliance on wood was tempered by profound respect and sustainable practices. The prioritization of deadfall, selective harvesting that avoided clear-cutting, and an understanding of forest regeneration cycles were integral to their approach. This careful stewardship ensured the long-term availability of this vital resource, balancing immediate survival needs with an unwavering commitment to ecological preservation for future generations. Heating and cooking, fire's multifaceted role, Beyond its immediate comfort, fire served as an indispensable technological cornerstone for Native American communities, transforming raw materials and ensuring sustenance during the harshest months. Its applications extended far beyond mere warmth, fundamentally shaping daily life and bolstering resilience against the unforgiving cold. Central to winter survival was the preparation of food. Fire provided the means to cook, making otherwise indigestible or unpalatable foods safe and nourishing. Roasting over an open flame or coals, boiling with superheated stones dropped into water-filled baskets or hide-lined pits, and elaborate pit cooking methods, where food was slow-cooked in earthen ovens, all broke down tough fibers, released nutrients, and eliminated pathogens. Crucially, fire also made water potable. Sterilizing water by boiling was a vital practice, reducing the risk of waterborne illnesses in a season when clean. Unfrozen water sources could be scarce and contaminated. From nourishment, fire's utility extended to the crucial task of preservation. Drying meat and fish over low heat and smoke was an essential winter preparation. This process removed moisture, inhibiting bacterial growth and allowing food to be stored for extended periods, providing a critical buffer against lean times. When hunting and foraging became difficult or impossible, strips of venison, bison, or salmon, carefully tended over a smouldering fire, transformed into durable, nutrient-dense provisions that could sustain families through months of scarcity. Furthermore, fire played an integral role in tool-making and maintenance. Wooden spear tips and digging sticks were hardened by charring them in a fire, making them more durable and effective. Heat was meticulously applied to bend wood for snowshoe frames, bow staves, or structural components for shelters, allowing for precise shaping that would be impossible otherwise. Even the arduous process of softening animal hides for clothing, shelter coverings, and containers was aided by fire, which helped to break down fibers, making the material more pliable and workable. Thus, fire was not merely an element to endure the cold, but a dynamic force that facilitated numerous daily activities, turning raw nature into the essential tools and provisions required for winter survival and comfort. The quest for sustenance. Winter food strategies for indigenous peoples across North America. The onset of winter heralded a profound shift in the rhythms of life, transforming the very act of sustenance into an immense and formidable challenge. The vibrant ecosystems that yielded abundant provisions during warmer months became unforgiving landscapes, demanding an extraordinary level of ingenuity to secure vital resources. Winter was, unequivocally, a season of scarcity, where the margin for error narrowed considerably, making survival contingent upon deep foresight, meticulous planning, and highly specialized skills honed over millennia. The generous bounty of summer, characterized by prolific foraging opportunities for wild plants, berries, and easily accessible game, gave way to a stark reality. Communities transitioned from this period of relative abundance to a calculated reliance on carefully stored provisions, a testament to foresight, supplemented by the often perilous and demanding pursuit of game and fish in frozen or snow-laden environments. This strategic pivot required an intimate understanding of animal migrations, their winter habits, and the precise timing for harvests and preservation. Diverse food acquisition techniques, ranging from elaborate trapping systems to ice fishing and tracking animals through deep snow, were not merely advantageous, but absolutely vital. Equally critical were sophisticated preservation methods, smoking, drying, freezing, and fermentation, which allowed for the creation of nutrient-dense, storable foods that could sustain entire communities through months of lean resource availability. These intricate foodways underscore the remarkable adaptability and profound ecological knowledge that were central to Native American resilience in the face of nature's harshest season. Hunting in winter, techniques and challenges winter, transformed the landscape into a formidable adversary. Yet it was also a canvas upon which the survival of Native American communities was etched through the arduous pursuit of game. Hunting, far from a mere pastime, became a critical, high-stakes endeavor, demanding unparalleled skill, endurance, and an intimate understanding of the natural world. The challenges were immense. Deep snow could impede movement for both hunter and prey, turning every step into a monumental effort. Ice made footing treacherous, risking injury and slowing pursuit. Animal migration patterns shifted dramatically with the seasons. Some species retreated to sheltered valleys, others moved to new foraging grounds, while still others, like the vast bison herds of the plains, might congregate in larger, more visible groups, their movements influenced by snow depth and available browse. Hunters had to adapt their strategies, sometimes following herds over vast distances, or anticipating their routes based on generations of inherited knowledge. Success hinged on meticulous observation and an encyclopedic understanding of animal behavior. Expert trackers could decipher a narrative in the snow, not just the species and direction, but the animal's speed, its health, and even its recent activities. Knowledge of where deer sought shelter from blizzards, where rabbits burrowed, or where grouse roosted in snowdrifts was indispensable. Specialized tools were honed for efficiency and lethality. Bows and arrows, often crafted from resilient woods and sinew, were precise instruments for dispatching larger game. Spears, sometimes tipped with flaked stone or bone, served for close-quarter kills, particularly when an animal was cornered or mired in deep snow. For smaller game, rabbits, squirrels, birds, traps and snares, strategically placed along well-traveled animal trails, provided a more consistent and less energy-intensive food source. Crucial when larger prey was scarce, communal hunts, while often associated with warmer months, were ingeniously adapted for winter conditions. On the Great Plains, bison drives, colossal undertakings requiring immense coordination, sometimes leveraged deep snow. Bison, heavy-bodied and less mobile in thick drifts, could be driven towards natural corrals, over cliffs known as buffalo jumps, or into areas where the snow was so deep they became mired, making them easier targets for hunters. These large-scale endeavors not only provided vast quantities of meat, hides, and bone, but also reinforced communal bonds, with every member playing a vital role. The hunter's attributes were paramount: stealth to approach wary animals across a stark, often open winter landscape, immense endurance for long treks through deep snow, battling sub-zero temperatures, sometimes for days, and an unparalleled understanding of the landscape, knowing every ridge, every sheltered cove, every potential trap or advantage. Yet, the risks were ever present. Hypothermia, frostbite, injury from falls on ice or from a wounded animal, and the constant threat of starvation if the hunt failed. The success of these winter hunts was not merely about sustenance, it was the very lifeline of the community. With stored provisions dwindling and other food sources buried beneath snow and ice, the hunters' skill, courage, and perseverance stood as the ultimate bulwark against the brutal grip of winter, ensuring the survival of their people until spring. Ice fishing and trapping, aquatic resources, as winter tightened its grip and traditional hunting grounds lay dormant under snow, access to vital protein became a formidable challenge. For communities nestled beside frozen lakes and rivers, however, an ingenious solution lay beneath the ice and within the snow-laden forests: ice fishing and trapping. These practices were not merely supplementary, they were often crucial for sustenance, providing essential nutrients that sustained life through the harshest months. The frozen surface, far from being an impassable barrier, transformed into a specialized hunting ground. Skilled practitioners, utilizing tools crafted from stone, bone, or antler, meticulously chipped and cut precise openings through the thick ice. Below, a world unseen awaited. Specialized lures, often carved from bone, shell, or polished stone, were skillfully manipulated to mimic prey, drawing fish to the openings. Some communities employed intricate netting techniques, deploying woven traps beneath the ice, while others, particularly adept spearfishers, would lie prone over the hole, patiently waiting for a passing shadow before striking with remarkable precision. This pursuit demanded not only patience, but also a profound understanding of the environment. Identifying safe ice, recognizing subtle changes in color, texture, and the resonant sounds it produced was paramount to survival. Equally vital was discerning the most productive fishing grounds. An intricate knowledge of submerged topography, fish migration patterns, and their wintering habitats was passed down through generations. Beyond the ice, the frozen landscape yielded sustenance through expertly deployed trapping methods. Smaller mammals such as beaver, muskrat, and rabbits were invaluable. Beavers and muskrats, often found near ice-covered waterways, provided not only nutrient-rich meat, but also dense, insulating furs essential for clothing and warmth. Rabbits, though smaller, were abundant and a reliable source of protein. The ingenuity behind these trapping methods was truly remarkable. Traps, fashioned from wood, sinew, and natural fibers, were designed to be effective in sub-zero temperatures, often camouflaged meticulously with snow or branches. Deadfalls, snares, and specialized underwater traps for semi-aquatic animals were deployed with a deep understanding of animal behavior, their trails, feeding habits, and vulnerabilities. This demonstrated not just an instinct for survival, but an intricate ecological literacy, allowing them to harvest resources sustainably, even in the most unforgiving conditions, underscoring their profound adaptive genius in confronting the rigors of winter. Foraging and gathering, hidden winter stores. Even as the frigid grip of winter settled across the land, the practice of foraging and gathering, while significantly diminished from the abundance of warmer seasons, remained a vital, if challenging, aspect of Native American survival. Communities possessed an encyclopedic botanical knowledge, passed down through generations, allowing them to perceive the seemingly barren, snow-covered landscape not as empty, but as a carefully catalogued larder of dormant plant resources. With an uncanny understanding of their environment, they knew precisely where to locate and unearth hardy roots and starchy tubers, such as wild carrots, groundnuts, or sunchokes, often buried deep beneath frozen earth or insulating snowpack. The inner bark of certain trees, notably pine or birch, was carefully harvested, providing not only a fibrous emergency food source, but also essential nutrients. Even in the depths of winter, tenacious berries like cranberries or highbush cranberries could sometimes be found clinging to branches or preserved under a protective layer of snow, offering a rare, tangy burst of flavor and a crucial dose of vitamin C. Crucially, winter foraging wasn't solely about discovering fresh resources. It also involved meticulously accessing and utilizing provisions carefully prepared and stored from warmer seasons. Dried berries, preserved root vegetables, and pounded bark mixtures were painstakingly laid by, awaiting retrieval when other options dwindled. While these winter plant resources could never rival the bounty of summer and autumn, their significance was immeasurable. They served as indispensable sources of essential vitamins, minerals, and crucial dietary diversity, perfectly complementing the protein and fat-rich meat acquired through hunting. This sustained access to plant-based sustenance underscored an extraordinary level of foresight, meticulous planning, and an intimate, almost photographic memory of the landscape, allowing communities to return to specific, hidden caches or known patches of dormant plants, even under a thick blanket of snow. Preservation techniques, drying, smoking, catching. The ingenious survival strategies of Native American communities were profoundly rooted in their mastery of food preservation, techniques honed over millennia to conquer the harsh realities of winter. Central to this ingenuity was an array of sophisticated methods designed to transform seasonal bounty into life-sustaining provisions. Drying, perhaps the most fundamental technique, involved the meticulous removal of moisture, a critical step in inhibiting microbial growth and spoilage. Meat from bison, deer, or elk, and fish like salmon or cod were often cut into thin strips and sun-dried in arid regions, or more commonly, carefully suspended over slow-burning, smoky fires. This process not only dehydrated the food, but, when smoke was involved, infused it with compounds that further deterred decay and added a distinct flavor. Berries, such as cranberries and blueberries, were also spread out to dry, transforming perishable fruits into durable, nutrient-rich snacks. Smoking took preservation a step further. Beyond mere dehydration, the continuous exposure to smoke from specific woods imparted phenols, aldehydes, and other antimicrobial and antioxidant compounds. This chemical infusion created a protective barrier, significantly extending the shelf life of fish and game, allowing communities to store substantial quantities of protein for months on end. One of the most remarkable innovations was the creation of pemmican. This highly caloric and exceptionally durable food was a testament to both resourcefulness and a deep understanding of nutrition. It typically consisted of dried, pounded meat, often bison, mixed with rendered animal fat, tallow, and sometimes dried berries. The fat encapsulated the meat, creating an oxygen-deprived environment that prevented oxidation and spoilage, while also providing an incredibly energy-dense food source. A small amount of pemmican could sustain an individual for days, making it invaluable for winter travel, hunting expeditions, and as a vital emergency ration. Equally crucial was the practice of caching, strategically storing food to protect it from animals, elements, and spoilage. Communities utilized various methods tailored to their environment. Underground pits, often lined with bark, grass, or hides, provided stable temperatures and humidity, ideal for storing dried goods, tubers, and sometimes even fresh produce in the cold earth. Elevated platforms or scaffolds, constructed from timber, kept food well above ground, safe from rodents, insects, and ground moisture. Particularly effective in forested or marshy areas. Specialized structures, from dedicated storage rooms within earth lodges to meticulously woven baskets and pottery, further optimized conditions for preservation. The science underpinning these methods was intuitive and profound. Drying reduced water activity, making it impossible for bacteria and fungi to thrive. Smoking introduced natural preservatives. Pemmican's fat content provided an anaerobic barrier and immense caloric density. Catching managed environmental factors like temperature and light, slowing enzymatic degradation. Together, these advanced techniques allowed Native American communities to transform seasonal surpluses, the abundance of autumn hunts and summer harvests, into substantial winter provisions, ensuring sustenance and survival through the leanest, most unforgiving months. The winter pantry, a diverse and balanced diet. The brutal grip of winter presented an unparalleled challenge to survival. Yet Native American communities met it with a remarkably sophisticated and diverse dietary strategy. Far from a meager existence, their winter diet was a testament to ingenuity, balancing stored provisions with fresh catches to provide the essential energy and warmth needed to endure extreme cold. The cornerstone of this winter sustenance was an impressive array of preserved foods. Dried meats, such as venison, bison, or elk, provided concentrated protein, while dried fish offered both protein and vital fats. Berries, carefully harvested and sun-dried, contributed essential vitamins and carbohydrates, preventing scurvy and other deficiency diseases. Perhaps the most celebrated example of this foresight was pemmican, a highly calorie-dense mixture of dried pounded meat, rendered fat, and sometimes dried berries. This superfood was a nutritional powerhouse, easily transportable and incredibly shelf-stable, offering sustained energy and crucial fats for insulation and warmth. Alongside these, caches of nuts and seeds supplied additional fats, proteins, and minerals, complementing the carbohydrate-rich dried goods. While stored provisions formed the crucial foundation, the diet was dynamically supplemented by fresh resources. Winter hunting, though arduous, yielded deer, rabbits, waterfowl, and other game, providing not only fresh meat, but also nutrient-rich organ meats, which were invaluable sources of micronutrients often scarce in preserved foods. Limited foraging, even in the depths of winter, might yield certain roots, inner barks, or evergreen needles, used for medicinal purposes or to supplement vitamin intake. This strategic combination of dried, preserved foods and fresh additions created a remarkably balanced diet. Proteins from meat and fish were crucial for muscle maintenance and satiety. Fats, particularly abundant in pemmican and fresh game, were paramount for generating body heat and providing sustained energy in sub-zero temperatures. Carbohydrates from dried berries and some foraged items offered quicker energy, while a broad spectrum of micronutrients, meticulously gathered throughout the year and conserved, ensured overall health and immunity. The creation of these meals was not accidental. It represented a profound inherited understanding of nutrition, long before modern science codified these principles. The precise methods of drying, smoking, and combining ingredients demonstrated an empirical knowledge of how to maximize caloric intake, preserve vital nutrients, and create palatable, nourishing food. This sophisticated approach allowed communities to not merely survive, but to maintain strength and vitality through the harshest months. Crucially, the acquisition and distribution of these vital food resources were often a communal endeavor. Successful hunts were shared, and stored provisions were collectively managed, ensuring that every member of the community, from the youngest to the oldest, had access to the sustenance necessary to brave the freezing winter. This communal sharing underscored a deep social fabric, where mutual support was as essential as the food itself for collective survival. Feasting and famine, managing scarcity while the ingenuity in shelter and clothing provided crucial defenses against the biting cold. The true arbiter of winter survival for many Native American communities was food. Harsh winters, particularly those extending beyond typical seasonal patterns, brought the stark realities of scarcity into sharp focus. transforming the ever-present threat of famine into an immediate and terrifying possibility. Entire communities faced the agonizing prospect of starvation, a challenge that demanded not only extraordinary resilience, but also meticulously developed strategies. To navigate these periods of extreme food shortage, communities implemented stringent rationing protocols. Every morsel became precious, and its distribution was often a communal decision, guided by long-standing traditions and the immediate needs of the group. Beyond the planned stores, indigenous knowledge of the land offered emergency lifelines. When conventional food sources dwindled, people turned to less palatable but vital emergency sustenance. The inner bark of certain trees, such as pine or birch, rich in cambium, could be scraped and consumed, providing a meager but essential source of carbohydrates. Specific roots, often buried deep and difficult to extract, were also known and utilized, their preparation demanding significant effort to render them digestible and safe. These were not preferred foods, but rather last resorts, a testament to the dire circumstances. Crucially, communal support systems formed the very bedrock of survival. The concept of individual hoarding was anathema. Resources were pooled and shared according to established social norms. Elders, often repositories of vital knowledge about emergency foods and survival techniques, were revered and cared for, their wisdom indispensable. Children, representing the future of the community, were also prioritized, often receiving a greater share of diminishing provisions. Cultural practices and social structures, deeply embedded with principles of reciprocity and collective welfare, ensured that the most vulnerable members, the very young, the elderly, and the infirm, were not left to perish, but were actively protected and sustained by the collective effort. This narrative of successful adaptation, however, must be balanced with the acknowledgement of the profound hardships faced. Starvation was a real and frequent visitor, and even with the most sophisticated strategies, many lives were lost. The constant vigilance required to monitor dwindling supplies, identify emergency provisions, and maintain social cohesion under immense stress speaks to an enduring struggle. Native American communities did not merely endure winter, they actively fought for survival, demonstrating an unparalleled understanding of their environment and a profound commitment to one another, all while living under the perpetual shadow of nature's unforgiving power. Ingenious inventions, tools for winter survival, the profound challenges posed by freezing winters spurred Native American communities across the continent to develop an extraordinary array of specialized tools and technologies. These were not mere rudimentary implements, but sophisticated solutions born from centuries of deep environmental understanding and practical necessity. Each innovation stands as a testament to unparalleled ingenuity and meticulous craftsmanship, integral to transforming an otherwise hostile landscape into a manageable and even thriving environment. For travel across vast, snow-laden territories, the snowshoe was a paramount invention. Far from a simple frame, snowshoes were meticulously designed, often tailored to specific snow conditions, ranging from compact models for crusty snow to broad web designs for deep powder, distributing weight efficiently and conserving energy. Similarly, the development of toboggans and sleds, crafted from lightweight wood and often lined with smooth rawhide or bone, revolutionized the transportation of game, supplies, and even individuals across frozen waterways and snow-covered terrain, minimizing friction and maximizing payload capacity. In the realm of hunting, specialized tools reflected an intimate knowledge of winter animal behavior. Ice chisels, often fashioned from antlers or durable wood, allowed access to frozen waterways for fishing, while expertly crafted snares and traps, set with precision, capitalized on animals' restricted movements and search for food during lean months. Specialized arrows and spears, tipped with bone or chert, were designed for optimal penetration through thick winter hides, ensuring efficient kills vital for sustenance and warmth. Beyond travel and hunting, these technologies underpinned daily survival. Tools for processing materials, from sharp bone scrapers used in preparing hides for clothing and shelter insulation, to adzes and wedges for splitting timber in sub-zero temperatures, demonstrated an advanced understanding of material science and thermal dynamics. The construction of durable winter shelters, whether subterranean lodges, insulated longhouses, or snow houses, relied on specialized tools for excavation, shaping, and assembly, turning natural elements into protective envelopes against the brutal cold. Collectively, these winter technologies underscore an enduring legacy of human adaptation, where intelligence, observation, and skillful hands forged the very means of survival. Snowshoes and skis. Conquering the snow, among the most ingenious and indispensable tools for navigating the frozen landscapes were snowshoes, and in certain northern reaches, rudimentary skis. These deceptively simple inventions were born of necessity and refined over millennia, fundamentally reshaping the possibilities of winter survival and mobility. The design and construction of snowshoes were a testament to meticulous craftsmanship and an intimate understanding of natural materials. Frames were typically fashioned from flexible hardwoods like ash or hickory, carefully steamed and bent into the desired shape. This intricate process required skill and patience, often involving multiple stages of shaping and drying to ensure durability and structural integrity. Within these frames, intricate lacings of rawhide from deer, moose, or caribou were woven. This lacing, often gut or babiche, was not merely decorative but functional, providing the broad surface area necessary to distribute weight. The tension and weave patterns were critical, allowing for both flexibility and firm support. A central toe hole and bindings, often of leather, secured the foot, enabling a natural gait. The physics behind the snowshoe's efficacy is elegantly straightforward. By dramatically increasing the surface area of the foot, the pressure exerted upon the snow is significantly reduced. Instead of sinking deep with each step, the wearer's weight is distributed over a much larger footprint, allowing them to effectively float atop the snow's surface. This principle was adapted through various designs, each tailored to specific environmental demands. The compact bare-paw design, nearly round or oval, offered exceptional maneuverability in dense forests and deep, powdery snow, common in regions like the Northeast. Its shorter length prevented entanglement with underbrush. Conversely, the elongated teardrop or Ojibwe style, with a pointed toe and rounded heel, provided a versatile balance of flotation and ease of stride, suitable for general travel across varied snow conditions. For open terrain and long-distance travel, particularly in the subarctic regions where expansive plains and more consolidated snow were common, the long trail or Algonquin snowshoe emerged. These were considerably longer and narrower, designed for efficient, swift progression over vast distances, often following established trails. Beyond snowshoes, in the extreme northern reaches, some indigenous groups developed primitive skis. While less widespread than snowshoes, these early skis, often simple wooden planks, served a similar purpose of weight distribution for faster travel over packed snow and ice. They represent another facet of human ingenuity in adapting to the harshest winter conditions. The impact of these inventions was nothing short of revolutionary. Snowshoes transformed winter from a season of confinement and scarcity into one of opportunity. They enabled hunters to pursue large game such as moose and caribou, which, when bogged down in deep snow, became more accessible. Trappers could set and check extensive trap lines, essential for fur acquisition and trade. Communication between communities, vital for social cohesion and resource sharing, was maintained, preventing isolation. In essence, snowshoes and skis were not merely tools. They were critical enablers of survival, trade, and cultural continuity, allowing Native American peoples to not just endure, but thrive in the face of nature's most formidable challenge. Sleds and toboggans. Winter transportations. Winter's icy grip tightened across the vast northern landscapes. The ability to traverse snow-laden terrains became not merely convenient, but absolutely essential for survival. Indigenous peoples developed sophisticated solutions for winter transportation, chief among them being sleds and toboggans. These ingenious vehicles were indispensable for moving goods, transporting harvested game, and even relocating entire communities across vast distances. The designs varied significantly, tailored to specific needs and environments. Simple toboggans, often crafted from a single piece of bent wood like birch or ash, featured a curved front that glided smoothly over snow, minimizing resistance. These unrunned sleds were typically pulled by human power, ideal for hauling firewood, personal belongings, or smaller game over relatively flat or undulating terrain. Their flexible construction allowed them to conform to uneven surfaces without breaking. More complex designs emerged for heavier loads and longer journeys, epitomized by the iconic dog sleds of the Arctic, such as the Inuit kamutik. These sophisticated conveyances employed a platform mounted on runners. The runners themselves were often crafted from bent wood, sometimes laminated for strength, or even made from bone or frozen moss, offering unparalleled durability and glide. Cross slats connected the runners, forming a flexible platform that was then secured with intricate rawhide lashings. This lashing technique was crucial. It allowed the sled to flex and absorb shocks from uneven ice and snow, preventing rigid joints from snapping in extreme cold. Materials like caribou rawhide, strong hardwoods, and even whalebone were meticulously selected for their specific properties: durability, flexibility, and resistance to cold. These sleds and toboggans revolutionized winter logistics. They transformed the arduous task of moving heavy loads into an efficient operation, enabling the transport of large game like moose or caribou back to camp, often over many miles. They were fundamental to the seasonal relocation of camps, allowing communities to follow game migrations or access new resources. Furthermore, the constant need for firewood in freezing temperatures made these vehicles indispensable for gathering and hauling substantial quantities from distant forests. The capacity to move significant weight across otherwise impassable snow-covered distances was a cornerstone of winter survival strategies. Their effective use also demanded a high degree of cooperative effort. Large hauls often involved multiple individuals or teams, requiring coordinated movement and shared knowledge. Furthermore, skilled drivers and handlers possessed an intimate understanding of their sleds, their animal teams, and critically, the terrain itself, navigating treacherous ice, identifying safe routes through deep snow, and anticipating shifts in weather required profound knowledge passed down through generations. An understanding that ensured both efficiency and safety in the unforgiving winter wilderness. Hunting and fishing tools. Specialized winter gear survival in the relentless grip of winter demanded more than mere resilience. It necessitated a profound understanding of the environment and the development of specialized tools. For hunting and fishing in icebound landscapes, indigenous communities engineered remarkable instruments. Ice chisels and picks, often meticulously crafted from durable stone like chert or basalt, or from robust bone and antler, were essential for penetrating thick ice sheets. These implements were typically hafted to sturdy wooden handles, secured with sinew or rawhide lashing designed to maintain integrity despite extreme temperature fluctuations and percussive force. Their precise construction allowed for the creation of vital fishing holes or breathing openings for seals, demonstrating an intimate knowledge of material properties under stress. For harvesting from these icy apertures, specialized spears were indispensable. Barbed spears, often featuring points of bone or antler, and three-pronged lysters were designed for both ice fishing and the opportunistic hunting of seals at their breathing holes. The shafts, carefully selected hardwoods, provided the necessary reach and rigidity, while the points were engineered for maximum penetration and secure hold, sometimes even featuring detachable heads tethered to the shaft for easier retrieval of game. Beyond direct hunting, winter foraging for smaller game relied heavily on an array of ingenious traps and snares. Deadfalls, constructed from logs and stones, were set along animal trails, their trigger mechanisms carefully balanced to function reliably even when coated in frost. Snares, fashioned from strong plant fibers or sinew, were discreetly placed to capture small mammals like rabbits and hares, or ground-dwelling birds such as ptarmigan. The effectiveness of these devices was a testament to a deep understanding of animal behavior, predicting their movement patterns, feeding habits, and vulnerabilities in the scarce winter months. Projectile weapons also